We have to create the right vibe, the energy, and everybody at the organization has to feel so privileged to be here. It's no other way.
Thanks for listening to the Purely Arsenal podcast. Please follow us on Twitter at PurelyArsenalFP for all the latest Arsenal podcasts.
Welcome to another edition of a Purely Arsenal podcast. We're back after a win again, not a coincidence, and I've got Neil Shah with me. How you doing, Neil?
Yeah, we only pod after wins, so there you go. So you'll know when we're going to come on. When we win, they look out for us.
Yeah, we're glory hunter podcasters, basically.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah,
glory
and we're proud
for trophies and podcasts and jumping on the bandwagon and all sorts of things.
Absolutely, and bloody good ones at that, aren't we, James Johnstone? How you doing, James?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much.
Absolutely. Well, it was. If we'd done one after Monday, it would have been a little bit toxic, So sometimes we got 2 games in midweek. Maybe you got to wait and see that week out before you record. So we've live and learn, and we'll continue to do that. But I do want to touch mostly on the Villa game because obviously that's what everyone will be thinking about, and it's far more enjoyable to talk about. But there is 2 or 3 things I think we'll have to mention in terms of the Palace game. One of which, James, I'll start with you because you are the lineup man, always posting your lineup, and we were both a little bit close on the lineup with this one. I want your thoughts on the changes. The changes off the top of my head were Tavares for Tierney. Tierney injured again, almost lasted a month there, almost a record for Tierney to be fit. Lacazette, after one of our few good performances in midweek against Palace, came in as a sort of central striker. And the other change was Lokonga starting because Lokonga came off the bench against Palace and didn't look fantastic. So it was quite a big call to start him after he made one of the errors. I think for the second goal, it was his error for leading to Edouard's goal. So what were your thoughts on those changes, James? I thought it made a huge difference, all 3 of them, to be honest, in this game.
Yeah, exactly the same. It wasn't what I expected at all. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. When the manager gets it spot on, I will praise him. But when he gets it wrong, I will I'll make my criticisms out there. And the old humble pie, I'm eating it with custard and I'm eating it with ice cream. And keep serving it up to me. Keep serving. I love being proved. Yeah, I love being proved wrong. But no, I thought he got that lineup absolutely spot on, and I don't want to try and jump the gun as much as I can, so I'll keep it, as brief as I can. But I'm seeing the same narrative that was there last night, that was there for the Spurs game by some of these people in the media and some Arsenal fans on Twitter. I'm not one of these guys that hates to give credit to a manager that, if we're going to say it, I'll say it. I have wanted out since we lost to Villarreal. But Aston Villa, just like Spurs, it wasn't that they were so poor. That obviously it helped that they were, but it wasn't that they were so poor. It's because we were so good and stopped them from playing. I think if people want to rewatch it again and actually look, they took off Ings and Buendia because they just couldn't do anything. We stopped them so well from dictating the play and doing anything that they both got taken. And they got taken off quite early because he was like, I don't know what to do here. I do not know what to do here. And we stopped them from having a foothold in the game. So I was really, really impressed. And the way the front 3 were interchanging, as well as Smith-Rowe, I thought was a masterclass. I thought it was really, really, because there were times where Lacazette's dropping into that number 10 and Smith-Rowe staying left and Auba's going centrally. And then there were other times where, Lacazette staying up front, Aubameyang staying on the left, and then Smith-Rowe's in it. It was really quite a clever bit of football. And
much more fluid, isn't it? And when... and I think you've got to give Lacazette credit. He's a player that's basically been, he was arguably our best
Yeah, it's about attitude and application, and he applied his attitude, if you like, in a very positive way. We saw it in Palace. He carried it on, so he came on for the last, I don't know how long it was, on Monday night, and he was probably the standout player in his cameo performance. It was because of his tenacity and his drive and his aggression, and I think he just carried that on in the game yesterday. So I really believe that, and I think that's what you were kind of alluding to when you were talking about his performances last season. That's what it was. I think his mentality is different, or he saw it was different to maybe some of the other players up front, and that is the difference to giving a good performance and maybe giving an average performance. And I just think you're right. I think his the way he is with the younger players, he's almost got that mentorship about him, a little bit like what Luis had when he was with the club. And he has got leadership qualities, and you could see his reaction. I know we don't want to talk too much about the Palace game, but when he scored, I mean, look at the way he reacted. Look at the way he reacted when we got the first goal yesterday, or for you earlier today, probably, Jack. I don't know if you saw him, he was like just going crazy, just stood still, giving it all when the goal went in. And it means something to him. And I think that's what it is. With wearing that badge and playing for Arsenal, I think it actually means something to him. And I think that's the difference. I think he really wants the club to do well, and he wants it to excel. And I just think his performance was fantastic. It was just, he was aggressive. I think, James, you touched on it a little bit earlier, the way Smith-Rowe, Auba and Laca were almost like coming off their positions at times. And I think that was confusing the defence, the way they were moving around off the ball, with the ball. And I think the defence couldn't live with them. We had such a high press right from the go. We were aggressive. We kept a high line, literally from the moment we kicked off. We had that early disallowed goal as well, and that was maybe a little bit debatable. That could have been given on another day, maybe. So it just showed that we started as we meant to go on, and I think that was just a hangover from Palace. That goal, I think, now is more important than we think, because it gave the players some kind of belief that, look, we can do something, even though we played so badly. We managed to snatch something here at the last gasp. And I think they've just literally and that momentum has given them the impetus to carry that forward into this game. And I think we were brilliant for 80 minutes? And I think it so reminded me of the Spurs game, but just for a longer period. And I think that was a testament to the players And yeah, you're right. I think Arteta. I love the lineup. I saw the lineup. I thought, wow, that is a fantastic lineup. And I was so pleased for the inclusion of Tavares and the Conga. So pleased. I want the Conga and Partey to establish a partnership. I think that is the future. And I think the more they play together, the better for us. Even if there are games where the performances aren't so good from either one or both of them, or it doesn't look like the relationship is there, I think they are our future for the midfield and the engine. So I was very pleased. But Lacazette, hats off to him. His whole attitude was fantastic yesterday. Brilliant.
Yeah. And
Can I just
go ahead.
Sorry, can I just say, Neil all the time talks about how he does not want chopping and changing of his two centre-backs and his two midfielders. You have said that for nearly 2 seasons that we've been doing these shows together. And I'll tell you what, them 4 last night, all of them were brilliant. That was Ben White's best game for Arsenal last night.
It was fantastic.
Yeah. I'm like, oh yeah, you've said it, Neil. And I'm like,
did you see it?
Keep them 4 together.
Yeah, I agree. That's
keep them going.
Because you can't, otherwise you can't develop like the telepathy. I'll never say that word. Telepathy, that's it. You can't, can you? And that's what you want.
It's early, mate. It's early.
I know it is. I use that as an excuse. You have to have that so that their intuition between each other. It's like instinctive. It's what Saka and Smith-Rowe have. And they've talked about it so many times. And you can't have that if game by game you've got a different partner. You just can't. And you're right. They're the 2 key positions, aren't they? The centre-backs and the engine of the midfield. They have to be consistent for me. And you can't have that if they're chopping and chaining. And just mentioning Ben White, what a run by him early on.
Yeah, that's huge as well, Neil, because what that does is very cat and mouse early on. Is it who's going to press, who's not going? And when he can do something like that, I mean, that is something that we've not really had a centre-back that's been able to do that. I know David Luiz would do it, but to that degree, to be able to basically sprint 60 yards through 4 or 5.
You know what he reminded me of? The Tony Adams goal against Everton, when he just went forward. He goes, I'm going. He said to Bold, I'm going, and he just went. Yeah, and it just shows, I mean, obviously we talk about ball playing ability, and I've sometimes questioned that, should you sign a centre back based on ball playing ability? But he's also shown in this game, as opposed, because we do have some question marks over the Palace game, but his ability to defend and actually be a defender, especially early on in that second half, where we looked a bit cagey and we were sitting back, and him and Gabriel made some terrific blocks, and last ditch challenges and one-on-one, and like you said, that I think it's really important that partnership ideally stays together.
The only thing he done wrong was the one from Watkins right at the end, but I was like, he was never going to win that ball in the air anyway. Yeah, that's the only thing. And I'm like, that for me is one of those where I'm like, am I being too harsh on him?
Yeah,
I think it's because he done
performance.
Yeah, I think it's because he was so good for the rest of the game to blame him on one area, which arguably he's probably not going to win anyway. It's a bit
yeah, I mean, now we're talking about White in terms of. I don't want to go back and forth between games too much, but in terms of, I was very disappointed with the goal, the second goal from Palace in terms of.
It was awful.
Just Ben White.
It was awful.
But yeah, I felt that stuff they work on in training all the time, one-on-one defending at speed, strikers running at them, and I feel even back in my day of playing, you were taught to always push them over to their weaker foot, which he didn't do, and if they get near the box, you have to engage in some aspect. You either take them down if you can't get the ball, or you make a challenge for the ball, right? And you push them onto their weaker side, and you don't cover the goalkeeper's view. And I felt he didn't do any of those things, to be honest. But our midfielders didn't help him out by losing the ball in such key areas, and leaving them vulnerable. But at times, if we're going to want to attack properly, which is something we really struggle to do under Mikel Arteta, we are going to have to leave these centre-backs exposed one-on-one. I mean, Liverpool do it with their centre-backs all the time, don't they? They leave them, 2 versus 2, because they know no one's going to get past Van Dijk, and most people won't get past a Joe Gomez or whatever. And I know we're not quite at that level yet, but I do think these defenders have been bought for that reason, though. So, you have to hope that they can be able to do that. So hopefully he learns from that and improves with that, because he's playing a different team, different type of football, I guess. But started really well, though, didn't we? Started really well, James, into the game, early chances. We were, all energy. I worried that maybe the Palace game, with such quick succession Villa had an extra 48 hours rest to what we did. So worried that they maybe, would show a little bit more energy. But we came out really bright, really, really good. I thought it was worthy of Tavares probably coming in for this game anyway, James. I think Tierney has been not poor, but I don't think he's been anywhere near what he was last season. And I feel it's become a bit one-dimensional going out to Tierney as well. And I don't think that's all his fault, but I do think he can vary up his attacking play a little bit, to be honest. I think it's been very sort of obvious what he's going to do with the ball, hit the byline, whip the cross in, and sometimes I think he could be a little bit better with that and as well. And then, but lo and behold, he picks up a mild knock. But mate, we did see something completely different and fresh and raw from Tavares, didn't we?
Yeah, and that's the key word you've just said there, raw. I still think the guy is very, very raw, and I would say defensively, I haven't seen enough there to be fully convinced, okay, he's good as well as going that way. Yeah. He's not as bad that way. But that's not his fault because, I don't really think he had much defensive work to do per se. But going forward, yeah, the one word I'd say, I kept saying it over and over again, was he's a bit saucy. He's a very saucy player, and I like it. I really, and part of me thinks, is that because he hasn't had it beaten out of him yet, or am I being
almost like he's fearless?
Yes, yeah. He's got a bit of I don't really care here. I'm going for this. Yeah.
But his athletic ability or potential is enormous. I mean, there he has this fullback who's 6'2", 6'3". I don't know how fast he is, but you remember that run early on? I know he ballooned it way wide.
Yes.
But the guy's speed is unreal. I mean, Tavares has got some serious athletic ability.
Yeah, I saw that he clocked the fastest sprint in the game. I think it was 34 point something.
I wonder if it was that one. Yeah.
But he did. I think it might have been. Yeah, but he did 11.73k. Last night, I finally found.
Where are you getting the distances at? I didn't know we could find those still.
Binio posted it. He posted, I know, top man. He only posted Tavares' up though because of how much he did. Yeah. I'm like, I'd love to have seen. I really wanted to see Smith-Rowe as well, but we'll touch on him later on. But no, it was a really, really good start. I thought Partey had the great chance before the one that he actually scored. He had that header that. Sorry, not the header. Saka whipped the free kick in. And
hit the post.
Shunned one onto hit the post. Yeah. Aubameyang, I don't know why he went for an overhead kick. I thought if you head that, keeper might parry that out and then one of the others is going to get a rebound. But, I thought we started amazing. I don't want to touch on the goal. I know we'll wait before we touch on the goal.
No, touch on it.
Oh, really? Oh, fair enough.
It was from our set piece coach. Arteta was hugging him straight away, so he obviously felt. But it was nice to see Partey on the score sheet. Kind of ironic that it didn't come from one of his long range efforts, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a lovely delivery from Smith-Rowe, who I don't know, Jack, if you got his interview after the game and everything where you are. He was with Neville and Carragher. He spoke to Carragher before the game here. And
I've not seen anything, so feel free to tell me about it.
He spoke to Neville and Carragher after the game, and they said, mainly because Carragher was bantering him about how he hasn't scored enough goals. And then he was like, yeah, you motivated me today. And he went, and Carragher was giving it, so I get an assist. He's like, yeah, if you want to. But he was talking about that at the training ground a couple of weeks ago, Arteta, and the set piece guy, like you said, was saying that they don't have a right-footed set piece taker that they're really confident in at the moment. And the set piece coach identified Smith-Rowe to Arteta and went, I think this guy, and apparently he's been practicing. And because last season, mainly, it was Willian, wasn't it? That was like our right-footed corner guy at the time. And so Smith-Rowe, you can clearly tell he's been practicing and putting the hours in, and it paid off. And I'm really happy for Thomas Partey. 3,533 minutes later, he's finally scored his goal. Yeah.
Off the shoulder.
I worked that all out myself, by the way. I know people put the timing out, but I'm like, no, I can work these minutes out in my own head. I can have it. But just get him shouldering the ball from 30 yards or whatever, like he wants to. And again, goes back to what we said about Laconga. He come on in bad circumstances the other day, and he did make a mistake and he had a howler. But when he started this game and he got shown the belief that, no, go on, like, you know, I know you had a bad game the other night, but go on, prove everybody, you know, do your business. He helped unlock Thomas Partey, which is when I picked my lineup and I went for El Neni. That's what I wanted, because Partey doesn't want to sit at the base of a midfield when we do that formation where we have Smith-Rowe and Odegaard
in
together.
eights,
Yeah,
which is
He
didn't really work against Palace. Yeah.
He hates it. He gets bored because he's like, I want to be box to box. I want to get invited. I don't like sitting here. I want to.
So the real question there is, and this is the first time, if I'm not mistaken, that Laconga and Partey have really worked, is can Laconga satisfy that 6 role, right? That's what we're really saying.
Yeah.
And by evidence of this, though, we were very much on the front foot.
I think
we ability to do so.
I think we really need to keep him going, because Boxing Day is when those players have to go to the Cup of Nations and begin the quarantine period before the tournament starts. So I'm like, he needs to get used to being in the middle for Arsenal, and he needs to do it quick, because in a couple of weeks' time, he is going to be one of the main men, and he's either going to be playing with Granit Xhaka or whoever we potentially bring in. He's going to be pivotal of that midfield. So, yeah, he's got to keep going for me.
Yeah, we're going to lose Partey, going to lose El Neni, going to lose Pepe, going to lose Aubameyang. I mean, these are players that would play a big role in that busy sort of congestive period, wouldn't they? Really?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's concerning. But Neil, what were your thoughts on Tavares and I know you're a big fan of Tierney. And we wouldn't. I mean, who would have thought a few months ago we'd be sitting here saying, "Well, I'm not really sure who starts left back in the next game." But I think it's a probably genuine question, isn't it?
I was going for him. I thought Tierney had been not himself of late. Please don't criticise me for this. I think Tierney's fabulous. I think he's been a player that's been carrying us alongside Smith-Rowe and Saka for a very long time. And he's a fantastic player. But my belief with him is, I think maybe I'm wrong to say, but I think he looks burnt out a little bit. I think maybe we've overplayed him, and I think it's in a way, when I heard that he's had a knock and he's out, I don't wish injuries on any player, but in a way I thought that may be a blessing in disguise for him to sit out maybe for a couple of games and let Tavares in and show us what he can do. And he was fabulous, wasn't he? Oh my goodness, his pace and aggression. It actually reminded me of what Tierney was like when he first came to the club. If you remember how devastating he was on the left-hand side and how he used to link up with John's favourite player, Martinelli. He was just so good. And it reminded me a little bit of that. And it was just, again, it was about attitude. I'm going to use that word a lot in this podcast. I thought the attitude and application from all the players was identical. It was a one-track mind yesterday. They had one goal, one focus, and that was to win. And that was to win with a high press and aggression. And he showed that in abundance, the way his pace, the way he was darting up, down that wing. And he was causing all sorts of problems for the defence. I think he was involved, wasn't he, quite early on in that build-up where Saka literally carried the ball, shot, had to score, didn't he?
Yeah.
That was fantastic.
I was saying to James... Sorry, carry on. I was just saying, the one sort of criticism I do have of Tierney this season, I felt is, it's become very obvious, like the predictable. He's sort of, when we've got him on the ball, the push out of his feet and cross, and I just felt Tavares, because of his pace and his timing, really, it was really his timing of his runs. For that one, it was like Smith-Rowe, and his timing was perfect, but also found his player, looked up, found his player. And I do feel sometimes this season, I felt Tierney's just crossing into space rather than to a player. And it's become really frustrating from my perspective. And then also the biggest concern with Tierney is the ability to be able to keep him 100% fit. And you always feel like he's carrying something. But sorry, carry on now.
No, that's exactly it. I think, but Tierney was doing that, wasn't he? He was finding players.
Oh, yeah.
And the frustrating thing is that they weren't finishing. He was trying to do all the the good stuff, and it wasn't working around him. I think you could see on many occasions how frustrated he was, and then that's when I started calling out for him to be his captain material, because he's got that kind of aggression about him that, why aren't you doing what you're supposed to do? And, you could see him being very vocal to some of the players. I think you're right. I think there is a bit of predictability, but that predictability could be on the back of that he's just tired and he's just burnt out. And maybe it is because for so long we weren't playing well, and it is an element of frustration crept into his mind. So I think he'll get it back. I think he's a great player. Look, let's not sit here and bombard Tierney with negatives. I think he's a great player. I think he'll come back. But it's nice to know that we now have two players in that position, because I think Tavares is a great asset, just as much as Sambi was. I've said it, early on in the season when we bought those players. Our signings are good. Ramsdale, Ben White, Tavares, Simba. All Tommy, of course. He's a machine. We don't need to talk about him. He's fantastic. I just think that the signings that Arteta have, or whoever it is, Edu Arteta, whoever's been involved in them, have been fantastic. It's actually been probably one of our best windows in a very, very long time. Yeah. And they're all producing, aren't they? All of them, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Not one of the signings have let us down, if you think about it. Not consistently anyway.
No, they've all shown they've got something, yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of them, apart from, with the exception of Ben White and Ramsdale, they've all come from abroad. And normally, when you get an overseas player, they take time to settle in. These guys have just taken it with aplomb, really. I'm so thrilled that we have got two players now on that side of the park. And we've always been worried about the right-hand side, but Tommy's, Jesus, what a player.
Yeah, so, he's going to be good.
This surely has to be our best defence for a long time, especially with Ramsdale in goal, who's the best keeper in the world, in my book. You've got...
Well, he had a fantastic game, didn't he, really?
Yeah, just exemplary, isn't he?
Also, I think it showed, because Tavares was, let's be honest, in that first sort of 35, 40 minutes, he was basically playing as an auxiliary left winger, allowing Aubameyang to come in central, wasn't he? And I think it shows with Tomiyasu, who can basically just tuck in and become sort of a free. And the license, we can give even more license than what we were giving Tierney at times. So I think because now we have this trust in this right-sided, and I think it's a nice balance. But I think we're obviously working on it. It's new, it's fresh, but there's a nice balance. I think Tomiyasu, like Neil said, I don't necessarily think it was a huge standout game for him, but he had his moments. He had his moments. He has his drive forward alongside Saka. Obviously talking about the Palace game, his little 1-2 wall pass with Pepe for the first goal. So he's solid. He's had one iffy moment. I felt Tomiyasu against Brighton in that first half, but we were all off. I mean, everyone was off that whole game. But even then, he learned very quickly, I thought, which is always quite impressive.
You made a good point there as well, though, beforehand with that chance for Saka. The initial ball from Smith-Rowe is sensational.
Yes.
It's such
tells him what to do,
beautiful weight of pass, and if that went in, just as much as I thought, and I don't care it was deflected, just as much as I thought the third goal was beautiful football, I would have been. That's one of them where Arsene, wherever he's watching, he would have had that as his screensaver. That's the kind of goal that he would have wanted.
Clapping that. And that's where Saka has to improve, to be honest. I mean, I love Saka, but you've got to put those away. And he does sometimes, he just thinks or lashes out at it in the front of the goal. I think Smith-Rowe to a certain degree does, but he's showing signs of settling that down and being a bit calmer. But we need one of those two to bang this season. I
couldn't believe he didn't take a touch. I was like, you had the time to take a touch and smack that. Yeah,
if he took a touch, Martinez has already gone down. He's got the whole goal, isn't he? And sees it. But I do want to just quickly touch back. I thought it was brilliant, even from the get-go. Do you remember the Villa home game last season? And they scored in the first 50 seconds. And it got disallowed because someone was standing in Leno's way. And you were like, oh, I hope that's a wake-up call. And it wasn't at all. We lost 3-0 and it wasn't a wake-up call at all. But what we saw in this game was the first minute, Ollie Watkins went in on Gabriel, probably lucky to just get away with a booking, to be honest, because he just basically swiped his legs away. But I don't know if it was a reaction to the McCarthy incident in the Palace game, where we didn't really, and we did a little bit, but everyone, weren't they? Lacazette, Gabriel, everyone surrounded the ref from that Ollie Watkins one. Like everyone was running from Aubameyang, everyone running from everywhere. And you could just tell from that moment, we were like, well, we're not going to be second best to anything here. And we're standing up.
And I tell you what, Gabriel, when he got back up again with the whole, what are you doing? Like, who are you? Who do you think you are? And then the whole game, he had him on toast.
Yeah.
He was like, he's like, you've wound me up now. Like, I already didn't want to lose to you, but now you've double, pissed me off. So I'm like, you're not having nothing now.
Yeah.
This is what we need. This is what we need. Do you remember that reminds me of the FA Cup final when Holding against Costa, and he says, you ain't going to get the better of me, son, today. Do you remember?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that is exactly the kind of mentality we need from all the players.
Yeah.
And that, go on, sorry, James.
No, Neil, you've said this for such a long time, and you saw teams that I wasn't fortunate enough to see. You saw that 89 side, you saw the side in 91 that you only lost the one game, had the Battle of Old Trafford and everything else, and you saw the one that did the two, the FA and the League Cup doubles. And I know, Jack, you were relatively young as well, but you saw them more than I did. And to a man, that whole lot, well, if you went for one, you went for all of them. And I think we didn't really have, last season when Pepe got sent off versus Leeds, at the end of the game, Tierney was the only one that was going to that Alioski, like, right, you, and he got dragged away. But this lot now, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's been ingrained into them or someone's come along and made it. But it is like, if you go for one, you're taking all and, piss off. We ain't having. I'm not having it.
You see the way the players surrounded the ref. I'm not saying that. I'm not condoning that. But we haven't had that for so long, have we? I was looking.
It's important that too.
I was rewatching it. Yeah, of course it is, because it just shows that togetherness, doesn't it?
Yeah. You don't have to abuse them. You don't have to put pressure on physically, but you have to be there and be like, hey, this needs to be checked. It needs to be checked. Like the MacArthur one needs to be checked.
The thing is, how many years, and it used to wind me up because I used to find it so petty, but Man United, when it was the Rooneys, Nevilles, and they used to, like you said, they used to abuse the ref. They'd go straight up for anything. And then Chelsea, it was always John Terry, Lampard. You're looking at this. Oh, you're doing that. I don't mind having a bit of that. I don't mind. And as well as what we're saying all there with the brotherhood and everything else, in that second half, I think it was Gabriel made a block for a corner, and that entire, again, Ramsdale picks him up under his arms, big high tens, but then the whole back five together are like, boom, you, fist bump, fist bump, fist bump. And I'm like, and I think that comes from him, because like we said before, Leno, not the vocal goal kick, and I think these lot need someone on that pitch to rollick them, as well as the manager that's trying to micromanage and rollick them as well. Yeah. So they seem to respond better when they've got someone like that.
Yeah, I think Watkins was a lucky boy as well. I think the other day he could have been sent off. I know it's a bit touch and go, but he did pull him to the ground.
Yeah, that was unnecessary. And MacArthur's one, I mean, no one knows how that one got away with it. We're just happy Saka hasn't got an injury with that one. But the good thing about, and we're going to get onto the biggest referee decision for this one, was obviously with the MacArthur one, the VAR review was 3 or 4 seconds, which is absolutely incredible. My biggest argument against VAR stuff with us is
it didn't get reviewed.
It didn't get reviewed? I thought they said for a second on my side, they're reviewing it and then boom, it was off. Oh, well, if it didn't get reviewed, that's even more disgraceful.
So apparently people said that he chose to, he was like, no, I made my decision on the pitch. So,
well, that sounds like the ego of Mike Dean. Yeah. So that's, exactly. But it's, I mean, that is shocking, to be honest. But, and just lucky he got away without having a serious injury, because, I mean, he's miles away from the ball, and people saying it wasn't intentional because he was looking at in the sky. I'm like, I don't see how you can. He knew what he was doing. I don't see how you can be that far off the ball. The
one of the most upcoming England players, and this is what happens, and nothing, not even reviewed, nothing looked at. We were lucky that Saka's not had a serious injury there. Could have even been career threatening. And that's what annoys me. I just want to say one thing. I know people might say, oh yeah, you're using that as an excuse for... No, I'm not. We played shit. We were rubbish, all right?
You were there.
We deserved everything we get. In fact, I think Palace deserved the win that day. Okay, I'm glad we got the point, because obviously we talked about the momentum they carried over to this match. But the point is, from my point of view, it's about an injury, and nothing is done about it, and that's what pisses me off. And that's why I just feel that this is just not right. And referees, they need to shake that system up, and they need to be severely reprimanded for decisions like that, in my book. So that's it.
Yeah, they should have to come out and answer for it. Like
he is being targeted though, because he got lumps. You know, I called him Warhorse yesterday. He was getting clattered yesterday as well, and I'm like, that's a testament to how good he is.
Mm.
Yeah, they are trying to take chunks out of the lad.
And Villa themselves have had this coming. I mean, let's not forget some of the decisions we've had go against Villa. I mean, Saka threw on goal at Villa last season. You know, doesn't even get booking, does he? Was it Mings? I don't know. I can't remember who it was, but gets taken out. It was a red card, blatant, doesn't get. So, yeah, I mean, Saka gets targeted massively, mainly because he's extremely good. And his ability to be able to turn people on a sixpence is like unbelievable. But, I mean, we should have been 2 or 3-0 up. And I do think you make your own luck in football. And that's why we always argue. You know, I think we had 14 shots on goal in the first half. And the reason you win penalties like we won, whether you think it was one or not, is you're in the box more often. So you force the referee into making these types of decisions. However, when we're struggling to create, and multiple games that we've seen this season where it's been really a hard slog to hope to create a chance and things like that, these decisions are less likely to go for you. You know, the people that get the most penalties are the people that tend to spend the most time in the opposition box, because you force their defenders and their players into that decision. But I do think it was the key moment of the match, because obviously we were 1-0 up against Palace. We looked good in that first 15 minutes, not massively different from the first 15 minutes here. And then for some reason, we take our foot off. We start to play with fear. I do think some of that does stem from the manager, to be honest, but I'm hoping things change. But in this game, there seemed to be a real understanding that, you know, 1-0 is no way near enough. We have to keep playing here. We have to continue. And I think we were a bit unlucky not to be 2-0 up, you know, with a Saka chance, the Aubameyang one that you talked about before the goal that he should have headed, and a few others, their half chances. What were your thoughts, Neil? Do you think that was a penalty? Oh, you're on mute. Go ahead.
Yeah, yes, I do. I think it's. I think you hit the nail on the head earlier there, Jack. I think, again, talking about bad decisions, and I've you know me and my thoughts on VAR, etc., etc. But I think you do make your own luck as well. If you're playing, I've always said, if you're playing really well, you're giving it your all in any match. I think sometimes that good luck or that positive comes to you because you're consistently playing well, and as you said, you're getting in the box if it's to do with a penalty decision, whether there's a penalty or not. But looking back on it, I think it was a right decision. You know, on another day it could have gone against us. The fact that they allowed play to carry on for such a long time, I thought it's gone. It's gone. And there's no way they're going to.
Weird, wasn't it?
There's no way they're going to review it. Then the play stopped, and all of a sudden it was like the half-time whistle, literally. And then all of a sudden, VAR's looking at it. I thought, this is Arsenal, really? VAR, yeah. Arsenal? Hang on,
it was impressive, really, wasn't it? I mean, because we don't get it, maybe, but it was very easy for 9 out of 10 refs to just go half time. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Because it had gone that far.
You know what? I was confident the whole way through, because when you said he blew, normally when they blow for the full time or the half time, whatever, they do the 3 consecutive, you know, and he only done 1. And I was like, that's a break in play. But I knew as soon as it happened, I was like, that's a Stonewall pen, and he's just going to wait for a break, and he's going to be told to go to the money. But I'm like, it's a Stonewall. I'm like, you can't go from behind, like, even if you get a bit of the ball, if you go behind like that and you make contact in that way, it's always a penalty now. Yeah.
And I don't understand is
if he got given against us, I'd have gone, well, yeah, you can't do that now. No. It's one of those.
And he gets the player first. Yeah, gets the ball second. He does.
Yeah, Laca. There might be an argument that Laca got his foot in front, but that's not the point. He still came from behind and he hit the player. So
that's what he's brilliant at. That's what he's brilliant at. He does. You know, people, even me, I've criticised him. Puts his bum in the way. You know, he uses his frame. You know, if I want to put it in a nicer way, he uses his frame to his advantage.
But that's not breaking the laws. That's using them for you. That's exactly
and I mean,
how it is.
again, Tavares was the guy who hit the initial cross in the build-up, so he's involved. Saka with the nice ball as well. So,
And I don't know about you, but I was really, because obviously Lacazette's celebration right in front of Emi Martinez for the first goal. I was just thinking Lacazette's going to step up and take it. To be honest, because I do think he's our best penalty taker too. But Aubameyang stepped up, and I got very nervous when Aubameyang stepped up. I was hoping I didn't feel confident.
Michael called it before the game. I've got to say, we missed having him here, but he knew before the game. He went.
He did say something. Bet on something.
He said Martinez will save a penalty. He did say,
but
he didn't
score the rebound. It was beautiful to see. It was almost better, wasn't it? Because he almost thought he was about to do his little. He was about to get up and do his little Man United.
He tried it. He tried it. It was pulled. He pushed back. He tried it. Aubameyang wasn't having any of it. I thought Aubameyang was good like that. He kept very calm. He very poker faced as he was taking it. Didn't want to get involved in any of the theatrics that Martinez had to offer.
I love the build up. Telling him to F off and get back on his line. Brilliant.
He knew what he was doing, didn't he?
This is what we thought.
It was Lacazette. I thought, okay, Lacazette's taking it and he's giving him some grief, but he's basically saying, get away from the penalty taker, go away, get back in your line. Very good, Lacazette.
But that's exactly what we were talking about earlier. That all the players are coming together and getting behind each other and having each other's backs, and that's exactly another example of it. That's another example of Laca's leadership, as you were talking about earlier, Jack. I mean, at the end of the day, that was it was a great save. I'm not going to say it's not, but I'm so glad that the rebound fell Auba's way, and that was still a difficult rebound to finish off, to convert. And did you see Martinez? He just went on the floor and he's holding it like he'd lost the world.
Brilliant.
Because he thought,
Brilliant.
Oh yeah, I'm the penalty saver.
Brilliant.
I'm the man. No, you're not. You were, Amy. I'm not going to deny that. But you're no longer anymore. No. It's Ramsdale. It's all day long.
You know what? We talked up Emi Martinez for months on here, but two things have happened since then. One, he's become a bit of a tit. We didn't know that was going to happen. No need in that after a club sort of basically, held you for 10 years. And secondly, we just happen to have got a better goalkeeper on our end, so we don't have to talk about you anymore, Martinez. We're laughing because he's going
on and on, isn't he?
Oh, he's become pathetic about it, and he's gone over the top with a lot of stuff. I think
over the top.
With his sort of going up to players and all.
Jilted lover, mate. Jilted lover.
Yeah, there's something there. He's believing his own hype a little bit too much, I think. Although I do think he's a terrific goalkeeper. But the one thing he's never had is that the distribution from Ramsdale at times in this game was to break the lines was absolutely incredible, wasn't it? I mean, I don't think we've had a goalkeeper like that. I don't recall having a goalkeeper like that. Even when you had Seaman and Lehman, they weren't this good with the feet. And obviously the game's changed since then a little bit. But
I got him so wrong. So wrong.
Well, I think we all did.
Another one, I'll hold my hands.
I didn't.
No. Yeah.
Well, I never said I knew much about him, but I did question the fee and where it was going. Because I didn't think he was coming in as number one. I didn't know I didn't know he realised very like we have known for the last year that we got biscuit hands, mute boy, but he just had kept playing him because he had old Ronnie Runnison in the background.
Mute boy.
So he obviously knew Arteta. He was just waiting for someone that he wanted to come in, and obviously, he absolutely brilliant.
I have to say, James called Leno out a long time ago, and I never even noticed that, and that was silly of me. I have to say, when I remember it was ages ago. I can't remember which podcast it was on, but James goes, "No, it's just not vocal enough for me. He just doesn't say anything," and that is a massive flaw in his game. And it's almost as if he doesn't care. It's like he doesn't care. Do you really think, I mean, I know I'm skipping ahead a little bit here, but, that's that goal we did concede. Did you see Ramsdale go off his nut? Now, would you see Leno doing that? No way, not in a million years. And that's the difference.
He'd go to the post where his water and his towel is, and he'd sip his water and just, that be it.
Yeah, that's it, exactly that. Yeah. And that's the difference between the two. And it's head and shoulders. Head and shoulders. All right, Leno's made some great saves. He had a good season with us that time. But there was still something missing now that we've seen what Ramsdale has to offer. And that distribution, there was one where he threw the ball out. It was beautiful. Do you know what? You're not going to laugh at me. Last night before I went to bed, it was very early hours actually, I was thinking about who I would pick as our best ever goalkeeper. And I was going to really surprise you two and say, actually, forget Lehman, forget Seaman. I'd have Ramsdale in there, even though he's only played for us for 5 minutes. because I think he's that good. I think he's that good. Honestly, believe me.
He's also very young, isn't he? So he has the ability to progress and improve.
We will wait and see. We will wait and see.
Yeah, but I think it's fair to say at this point, we definitely sort of misjudged. Well, a large part of our fan base did misjudged him, but also I personally I had no clue the intention was to bring him in this soon. I thought he'd come in at some point in the season, but my concern was I need something different now because, like you, I wasn't confident in Leno at all. And
I think you've got to credit his attitude because. When he initially signed, I have not seen a player look so happy to sign for us that's not got any emotional tie really to Arsenal. He was. I think he supported Bolton when he grew up. So, he
was desperate for the move, wasn't he?
Yeah. And do you know what? I also like the fact that he probably looked at it himself as well, and a bit like what you've just said there. He looked at Biscuit Hands Mute Boy, and he went, "I can have you."
Yeah, he knew it.
Yeah, he's like, I can take you out.
Didn't he?
Yeah, he's like, I can take you out. And do you know what? I like the fact that he's gone, that's mine now, and you ain't having it back. And from what I can see, everything in January indicates that that's going to be a sale. But I worry because...
I've got a 1 minute segment just before we go in this podcast. I do want to just touch on two things in January that have kind of started hitting in my mind a little bit. And that is one thing, because I do think we've got an issue with these four players going to AFCON for way longer than we thought. And the injury of Xhaka and all that sort of stuff, I think it leaves us a bit of a problem. But it also leaves us a problem with where money's coming in. And maybe that is what maybe that's where you're heading to. I do think, while I think the ref was fantastic in the sense of, waiting that long and still having the guts to bring it back and say, I made the wrong call, when he was viewing it very clearly, like he was 10 yards away from that call. So, we shouldn't be crediting refs for that. But the problem is, in England, we've got a ton of refs that basically aren't willing to say they made the wrong decision, to get the right decision right there and then, which there is nothing wrong with that. Secondly, though, when they review VAR, like if you remember 2 minutes into the second half, Ings went down, similar situation, but no contact. Ings just flopped to the floor. They looked at it. They got to book that player then. If they look at it and it's not a foul, it's a dive. No, I'm with you. Yeah, they've got, and I don't know why they don't do that. If they're reviewing it, it's either a foul or it's a dive. Right, so unless there's always a grey area, but that wasn't a grey area. I mean, it was literally he just flopped to the floor.
There was a lot of complaints as well, especially from like neutrals and Villa fans, that Aubameyang, after he missed, got the time to take the rebound, because they were like, well, where did they get that? He was blowing for half time and everything, and I'm like, no.
It's a sequence, though. You can't blow the whistle.
No, and Kelly Cates on Sky, she explained it brilliantly, because she said, like, they didn't have the information and commentary, but we've done the research after. And they were like, no, it goes back to when the timing of when that initial foul was made, and there was still time in the extra time period.
It's almost like that last 2 minutes didn't happen.
So it's literally like you go back to where that contact. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So that's why the timing was given for Aubameyang to hit it. But I'm with you.
The assumption would be if
that's the case, it's a sequence. Yeah.
If someone scored within that 2 minutes of play, it would have been disallowed anyway.
Yeah,
I mean, if this was given as a penalty.
It's the same that people said about the Palace game. They're like, I can't believe he gave the time after the corner was taken to allow that. And again, it's like you're saying, but it's a sequence. Yeah,
a sequence of events. Yeah, exactly. It's, but went in at 2-0, which I think was absolutely key because of the Palace game. I think we went in at 1-0 at half time. Saw how we came out. It's the
first time we've stopped an opposition from having a shot since Burnley in 2018.
In that first half,
they had no shots whatsoever. And again, that goes to that
and no touches in our box or something. It was 0-0-0
XG.
And again, that's those four. That's that four central players. I can't go on about them enough.
No, they were a very good party. I thought was fantastic. I thought Lokonga was solid. And fair play to Arteta for having faith in Lokonga, because it would have been very easy for a young player making a mistake like that against Palace to go, dropping you out here, bring someone more experienced in. But he didn't. He said, you're my player. And that is the difference with, I know people have been talking, Guendouzi had a good performance at the weekend, etc. But in fairness to Mikel Arteta, he did make the decision quite early on Guendouzi that he wasn't his type of player, or probably not his type of character. And I've got no real issue with that, as long as you you bring in someone that is. If you're going to get rid of someone like that has got a lot of footballing potential, I think Lokonga's got just as much potential. Different type of players, I think, but I think there's some similarities there too, actually. But I think he's got just as much. So yeah, absolutely, I'm happy for him to go, and he definitely seems to have the right type of attitude for this type of manager if we're gonna stick with him. So that's fair enough. So great to go in 2-0. Then obviously second half, like we do, we sit back and we just drop under the cosh a little bit. But Villa are no mugs. I mean, they gave Chelsea a massive. Chelsea were very lucky to beat them late on with a couple of goals. They beat United away. You know, I know they've lost Grealish, but they've still looked pretty tasty against the big teams this season. So we knew they were going to try and come into the game a little bit. I think they made a few changes, brought Bailey on, and he looks quite a tasty player, doesn't he? So and players like that. So I thought we handled it really well. But then we, unlike stuff we did in the second half against Spurs, we countered well, James, didn't we?
Yeah, and I mean the third for me, I said it earlier. What brilliant football! I mean Tavares again into Aubameyang. It's a lovely flick. And it's a great little run. And, I've said it before, I get excited with these players that when they're running with Overmars was the main one that I always talk about. He was one of them. He used to excite me every single time he had the ball. I thought he's going to be, who's going to catch him? Nobody. And Sanchez was a bit like it as well. He used to get me off my seat and everything. And I'm like, Smith-Rowe's he's got a long way to go to beat them two, but he's got that same sort of excitement on the half turn and when he sets off, when he gets on his bike. And I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I thought it was a really, really nice goal. I don't care, like I said earlier, I don't care about deflection. I thought it was a brilliant goal.
I think he wins the ball back. Tavares.
I
think he's a tiny, the ball, I think it's going wide. I think it's going wide when he shoots. I'm watching it again, and I keep watching. I stopped.
Could have done,
but he's been given the. I was so happy that he got given the goal because he was Neil. I mean, he was fantastic. I'm trying to think because we've had a little bit of up and down moments with Smith-Rowe this season. I'm trying to think how do we get him playing consistently. I do think Lacazette is massively key to it. I think he allows Smith-Rowe to run off the ball more. And I think that is probably where Smith-Rowe is elite. He's elite at running onto the ball at pace. But if Aubameyang's up there, he's always wanted to play on the shoulder. So there's no one really to draw off that Smith-Rowe can run off of. But Lacazette drops into that hole and he vacates that space that Smith-Rowe can go into. I think that is probably the most vital player for Smith-Rowe to play with. But there's obviously other attributes to it. But again, another fantastic performance. He's probably been one of our best players this season, Smith-Rowe.
He has been the best player this season.
Yeah, what do you think?
Easily.
Yeah, Neil, great goal.
He did start off the move. He broke up the play and then he started off the move. And as soon as he released the ball, he was off. He knew what he was going to do. The intention was there. And that is what we've been missing with our sidewards and backwards play. Players like Smith-Rowe, Tavares, Lokonga, all these new players, two of the new ones, Lokonga and Tavares, sorry, they've all got this passion to move forward rather than do the safe side-to-side and backwards passing. That was key in the Spurs game. That was key in this game. And he was off straight away. He knew what he intended to do. And then Auba's layoff. That was fantastic. Don't get annoyed, you two, but it was almost Ozil-esque, that layoff. It really was. But Auba executed that fantastically. And that was key as well. So you've got to give Auba credit. I know John will think I'm a hypocrite here, but Auba was fantastic as well yesterday. He was
all right against Palace as well, to be honest.
And he was all right against. He was.
His effort was there,
Yeah, the effort, the tracking back, trying to win some balls. Things that we never used to see of him or didn't see enough from Auba. So credit where credit's due. I thought he was great. He always played like a captain to some extent yesterday. Mm-hmm. So I like that, and I'd love every player, like James said, to prove me wrong. Where I've had a bit of criticism, prove me wrong. I'll take it all day long. For me, it's about the club and us doing well. So all day long. But Smith-Rowe, oh my goodness me! And I'm so glad he got the goal that was credited to him. I read something this morning, and Arteta has said that he's changed a few things in his lifestyle. because you were saying that he's been missing just that little bit. Jack, you were saying just a few moments ago, and Arteta has said he's changed a few things in his lifestyle, and I think that's helping him. He's like, the percentages are getting higher for him. All the attributes, even off when he's not playing football, and what he's doing behind the scenes, that's all helping him get to this level and attain that standard, if you like. And I think that's key as well. So, good. If Arteta is managing that correctly, that's great on him. That's on Arteta, to be fair.
Yeah, he was the clear man of the match for me as well. He got a goal, he got an assist, 85% of his passing. 4 of them was key passes, by the way, which is a record high for him. So he created the most in a game for the teammates. But again, as well as all this offensively, you and Neil just summed it up brilliantly. He's battling as well. He won all 4 of his duels yesterday, made 2 interceptions, and he won a tackle. And if you look at his heat map, he was everywhere. And just as good as he was offensively, he was solid defensively as well. And, we keep saying about these young players are carrying the older ones, but I'm like, the maturity from both Saka and him is sensational for people. I mean, I was a bit worried because I saw Gareth in the crowd with his assistant, and I'm like, he's got a plethora of all these great players. And part of me's like, I don't want Smith-Rowe to go with England at the moment because he's another one that could get kicked to high heavens for them, and then we lose him. I'm like, I don't.
James, Adrian Clark, I don't know if you saw the breakdown. He summed it up actually. He said, look, as much as Smith-Rowe has the skill and talent, he goes, that's only half his game. He said, look at the way he can intercept. Look at the way he can tackle and win the ball back and do all of those things. So he goes, actually, he's almost a complete player. And what you said, Jack, earlier, if him and Saka can start converting more, and getting some more goals, can you imagine how far they can go, the two of them?
Yeah.
And both, it's just so good to see.
Yeah, and I think it's vital to get, because obviously we scored 5 in a week, so that's obviously, an improvement. But it is, and we're creating more as well. Certainly today, yesterday, we're creating more, which is also an improvement.
We need wingers to get at least double figures. We haven't had that since the Perez's and the Lundbergy days. Yeah, and I'm like, if them two can carry on the way they're going, that will help us out so much, because that's the thing, we've all complained about, is how little goals that we scored under this manager with these players. Yeah. You've said it time and time again, Jack. You're like, any other manager that's got a bit more of an attacking philosophy does pull out double figures for all of those lot.
Yeah.
Am I right in thinking, I read somewhere that Aubameyang's the only person who scored more than 1 goal for us this season so far? Is that right?
Smith-Rowe scored 2 now.
Yeah, Smith-Rowe's on.
Oh, okay, so it's probably before this match.
Yes. Smith-Rowe scored 2 now, and well, that's the thing, and that's why I do think Lacazette has to come back into the team a little, not every game, but a little bit, because again, he's another player that not necessarily getting you 20, but Lacazette's getting you around 15 goals in a season if he plays regularly. He just will. He's relatively clinical. He's our second probably best finisher at the club, and I think really more than that though, he brings a sense of sort of cohesion to the front forward that I don't think any other player does, and I think the biggest difference with him and Aubameyang is if you look at the 2 halves, the first half was very front-footed, Lacazette massively involved. The second half, I know he came off at 70th minute-ish, but was massively on the back foot, still massively involved. Whereas if Aubameyang was playing in those 2 halves centrally, he'd go missing for one of them, because he's not the type of striker that can play in every game centrally. I don't think Aubameyang, he's not got the attributes. We're basically looking for a striker in the summer that is a mixture of the two of them, aren't we? But I think we're probably, under this manager, looking for a striker that is closer to Lacazette.
I think we need one earlier than the summer, because but we won't get one. Well, if Balogun's going out on loan, which looks like they're all in, and again, feel so sorry for the guy, because he put pen to paper thinking that he was going to get chances.
We ruined him into that one, didn't we?
Yeah. He's, if anyone should feel hard done by, it's probably him. Unless he is going to fully go from, like I said, this Boxing Day period up until February when they all come back. If he goes, right, Martinelli, now I'm going to deploy you down the middle instead of out wide, I would worry, because you've only got Lacazette, him, and Nketiah, who we're still trying to flog as well. I'm like, you're very unless Mika Bereth all of a sudden, and he looks like he's the real deal from what I've seen. But unless Mika Bereth starts coming in, we're very, very short.
I do think it's unlikely we'll do anything striker-wise in January. But the problem is there is a quite a high chance that Lacazette will sign for someone, pre-sign for someone in January because he can. And the problem there is there's always...
I say give him another year.
I would have done it in the summer, and now it feels.
Yeah, I know. You've said.
I would have done it in the summer because I felt. I felt he was relatively key at that point, and I also feel there's a chance. Well, if he moves on, there's a chance someone else. But there's still a chance Aubameyang moves on with a year left. There's a possibility there, so you don't know. So you probably want to have that cushion, because now in January, let's say he signs a pre-contract agreement, that's him done for the season because he's not going to play like he is now. He's playing, as much as he's playing well, he's also playing because he knows he's in his last year of his contract. And that's a perfect time. Look at Aubameyang in his last year of his contract.
And to be fair, whoever he signs with, that's it for him because he's he's going to be 29.
No, he's 31, I think, Lacazette. Oh, Lacazette.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think he's 31, Lacazette, I think.
Oh, right. I thought he was
I have to look that up. I'm looking it up right now. I don't want to be wrong. But I want to say he's 31.
So I think it'll be. I think it'll be his last one if he's going to commit. To
he's 30.
Deal.
He's 30.
Well, yeah, still, whatever one he goes to, this is probably his last, big time.
Yeah. So he'll whether it's with us or we're not going to give him that big deal. That's why I think it might be hard.
No, but it's one of them. He clearly likes where he is.
Yes, and he probably might find it still quite hard to get the wage we're giving him because we're paying him like 175 grand a week.
Yeah, true.
So there's an argument that we could, but you'd have to do it in the next month, I presume, if you're going to sign him to it. And I would have no problem with that. I still think signing a striker would be on the cards next summer. Obviously, great goal, like you said, from Smith-Rowe, deflected but given to him. We did still break well, but obviously then a little bit under the cosh. They score. I missed a lot of the last 20 minutes, but their goal was Ollie Watkins, wasn't it? Top bins, wasn't it?
No, it was the young lad Ramsey.
Yeah. Oh, was it Ramsey? Was it?
Yeah.
I couldn't tell it was.
A young lad.
Oh, that makes me feel better about it actually. And then they had a few chances late on. They had that free kick right late on that just went over, didn't they? A bit nervy, but never. I never felt. I felt the game was done once Smith-Rowe put that ball in the back of the net. To be honest,
again, I just feel. I know earlier you said about the subs and everything else. I think the Maitland-Niles sub invited them on a bit. I don't know if I'm being harsh, but again, the Martinelli one, you got to give him more than 3 or 4 minutes for me.
Yeah, I've got pelters for that. I mean,
John mainly.
I ignore him. He just likes to wind me up. I know what his game is, but. I just think, how can you? They're going to but who? Someone goes, well, who's he going to come on for? I said, well, Aubameyang, because Aubameyang looked tired.
Yeah, he did come on for Aubameyang, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's like, well, you need to give him more than 3 seconds. It's ridiculous. And then John has to say, and he made a mistake. I said, well, if you're going to give him 5 seconds of play, he might make one mistake. I mean, how many mistakes have Aubameyang made in the last 3 seasons? You've got to pay him. You've got to give him more time. I'm not suggesting you drop players like Aubameyang or Lacazette, but at least give him 25, 20 minutes. We were 3-0 up. We were in control of the game.
He's got to start Tuesday.
He will start Tuesday.
Yeah, but I'd like to see 100% he's going to start. I think he will start on Tuesday. But I think he needs to be playing in the Prem as well. And I'm not saying full games, but at least give him the 15, 20-minute cameos, especially if we're in control. You said it a minute ago, Jack. Although they got that goal and it was a bit squeaky bum time, I think we'd seal the game. So there was no harm in bringing Aubameyang off a little bit earlier and giving Martinelli a chance. And I've got pelters for that. I thought, sod off. Martinelli is a quality player. And he's not going to be able to show that if he doesn't play. End of.
Yeah, and the tough thing with him is a bit like Balogun. He's kind of been shut. His chance was when we were all over the place at the start of the season, wasn't it, in those first couple of games? And they started at Brentford when we had a sort of haphazard side. And it's hard to judge players like that when you're playing, playing with multiple injuries in the side. The side was completely different, let's be honest. And they're still trying to find their place. And there's a sense of Martinelli, been talk and questions to Mikel Arteta about Martinelli going out on loan in January. I don't think we're quite there yet, but we do have to find a way of getting him a little bit more minutes.
If the manager has completely written him off based on the Brentford and the Chelsea game, that is so unfair, because I was at Chelsea. This podcast have got a curse for sitting with Melvin. It seems like we haven't got a win. We'll have to try and get Michael to go with him, see if Michael can get a win out of sitting with Melvin. But Martinelli had to do 60-yard bloody shuttle runs against Chelsea to pick the ball back up to try and drive to get it into where he wanted to. And I'm like, you can't just go, oh, I'm finished with him because of that.
I don't think he has. I think
this is the team that he wants now, the manager. And I'm like, right, put him in this lot that's thriving, like you said, Neil, for more than 3 or 4 minutes. And let's see what he can do with all of these that, are engaging and everything. For me, I you know me, Jack, love Odegaard to bits. I arguably say he's the best presser for us in that forward line. But I would have gone, considering how well Smith-Rowe was doing, I'd have dropped him in the 10 when Lacazette went off. I'd have put Aubameyang down the middle, and I'd have gone, Martinelli, you can go down the left. For us, from when Lacazette went off, I'd have gone, go on, Martinelli, go on then.
Yeah. It's been a tough moment for him, isn't it? Because we do have a lot of talent.
He'd have run that back three ragged if he had more than 5 minutes. I mean, he nearly got a one-on-one in the small time that it was only the fact that he did. The guy, I think it was Twanzebe or whatever, managed to just nip the ball away from him because he would have been away. He was right on he was ready to go.
Mm-hmm. James, how much pressure does that put on a player that I've only got literally seconds to show them what I can do?
Yeah.
How much? Yeah. What does that do for a player's mentality? It's a joke. Look, I thought Arteta got it spot on yesterday. I'm not here to criticise Arteta. I think for once he's called it absolutely spot on yesterday. I thought great job. But please give Martinelli more time.
Well, the problem we've got there, Neil, is I think if we were having European competitions, and this is where it lets us down big time, players like Martinelli and Balogun, we probably wouldn't be discussing too much in terms of worrying about them getting minutes, because you'd have your Thursday night Europa League game, and I bet you they'd both be starting, every one of them. But because they're not, we're looking to find, and that's why I argued from my perspective that he should have, and I know it was difficult, but should have trimmed the squad even more, because just a lot of these players, like Balogun, I mean, there is no viable route to the first team for him this season. I just don't see it unless there's, some big injuries to probably 2 players minimum. I don't see it.
Scored twice for the under-23s last night, and he's their captain. But I'm like,
what's the point? Yeah, I mean,
well, he's like, I've put pen to paper to a 4-year deal, and I'm still playing
under 23 football.
Yeah, I'm playing at Meadow Park instead of the Emirates.
Yeah.
Do you know what? But at least he's getting more game time than Martinelli, though, isn't he?
Yeah.
Whatever it might look like, he's still getting game time.
Yeah. It's a tough one, isn't it? I don't. There's been arguments as well that people, Martinelli maybe Arteta isn't the biggest fan of Martinelli. I hope that's not the case. But obviously, if we get to the summer and he's still having this little minutes, I think he's got like 2 years left on his contract. So it may be a little bit concerning, to be honest, about whether he'd sign and stick with us if we're not giving any play time. But we saw the game out. I mean, that goal, I think it was a bit of a dodgy challenge from Partey on that Ramsey. Is it Ramsey for them? That it was a great finish. But I think Ramsdale, when he's going mad, I think he's going mad at Partey, because Partey basically pulls out the challenge, isn't it? Fair play to Ramsdale, but Partey's got to be stronger there. Just put your foot through it, really. But he kind of pulls out halfway with the tackle. But where are we at? I mean, it's weird because I feel like, obviously Arteta deserves a lot of credit for this performance, but the reason I don't go overkill is, other than this performance and Tottenham one, I think our performances have been left a lot to be desired, really. And so we need to see that more consistency. Of course, if we see that more consistently, we're all going to be sort of like wailing about Arteta and how well he's doing. But what we've not seen throughout the whole 2 years is performances consistently like that, no matter who the personnel is. And now you can't argue with the personnel. I mean, it's all his, really. I mean, 21 out of the 25 are his or renewed through him. So, I mean, it's his squad. But we sit in 9th. We now have Leicester next game. I just want to get your quick predictions on that. That's a massive game. Leicester's kind of starting to hit form again and coming back into form after beating United and things like that. They've got a tricky game against Brentford, I think you said. But Neil, what do you think? Score? It's an early morning game against Leicester away. It's going to be a tricky one. We've not been fantastic away from home either this season, but what's your thoughts?
Just want to say also, if he performed better, we might even podcast after a loss.
Yeah, well, we would have done about that one, but maybe a draw. Yeah, it's absolutely right. We just got to be more consistent, haven't we?
Are we not playing Leeds? Are we not playing Leeds next?
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't want to disregard that either. So let's do 2 predictions because we're not going to do one before that. So let's do. We might do one in between, but we'll see. But let's do a Leeds prediction. League Cup. I think it's at home. Isn't it?
Yes.
League Cup at home. So the changes will be interesting there. Martinelli, Balogun, Eddie as captain probably. All that stuff. Leno back there, not saying a word. He's probably put proper sulk on, I think, Leno. But yeah, what's your prediction for midweek? Because it is important actually midweek. Can't go too weak because they're having a tough season, Leeds, but they're a good side, and we're only in 3 competitions, so I don't think we can go too weak. But what's your prediction for the Leeds game and the Leicester game?
Well, Leeds are tough. It depends on who he puts out, how many senior players he puts out for that game. I think it is going to be a tough game. They're a good side, so I'm going to be quick with this. I think we'll have the home advantage, so I think we'll see that out. I'm going to go for another 3-1. I'll go 3-1, and I've got to say Martinelli. Hopefully he plays and hopefully he scores. So 3-1 against Leeds. Leicester, that's a different ball game. My goodness me, this is going to be a good test for us now. On the back of a good performance, I hope we can just carry that momentum through. Leicester are a little bit unpredictable, aren't they? They can have a great result and then they're not so good. And so it depends on what Leicester show up as well and what Arsenal show up. I think if we show the same, have the same application as we did yesterday, I think we could get away with something. I'm kind of gearing more towards a draw, but I'll go with my heart and I'll say a 2-1 win. And I will go for, would he start? Like I said, I'll go for Aubameyang, 2-1 Leicester.
2-1 win.
So 3-1 Leeds, yes, and a 2-1 win against Leicester. But yeah.
Very positive as always. Neil, James, you're that positive?
Yeah, Neil's took my predictions, so I'm going to have to. I'm going to be different. So I'm going to go 3-0 versus Leeds. And let's pluck one out. I'll say Odegaard to score against Leeds.
Well, I think
I think he'll start him. And then Leicester. See, I wanted to do 2-1 because I know we're probably going to concede against them. So I can't do 2-0. Fuck it. So I've sworn now. I'll do 3-1 against Leicester as well.
That was it last season, I think.
Yeah. I'll go 3-1 against. It's not going to be 3-1, but I have to be different. So I'll go
scorer
3-1 against Leicester.
Oh, sorry, not top scorer, first scorer.
Yeah, I agree with Neil as well. I think Lacazette's a safe one for that one.
Okay, Neil said Aubameyang, but I think he hinted at Lacazette.
Oh, sorry,
he said Aubameyang.
No, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if he was going to play Lacazette, but hopefully he does. So yeah,
he'll play him. He'll play him for sure.
Yeah, good,
now,
good.
I think. Yeah.
No, I was just worried about I was just worried about him coming off. Was he injured or did he?
I think he was just cramping
something up.
Yeah,
I think
he was just cramping.
He did walk off. He did walk off on his own. He didn't have the guy help him to walk off. So that indicated to me we can't be too bad.
Well, fingers crossed then.
Just a fitness thing, hopefully. But
what about you, Jack? What are you going for?
I'll go 2-1 Arsenal against Leeds, and I'll say Martinelli, and then I think Neil said that.
Good man.
And then I will go 2-2 against Leicester.
Ooh.
2-2 against Leicester. Smith-Rowe. I'll go Smith-Rowe.
Yeah.
So, nice.
And we've got to go there and not lose. I would say. I mean, you've got to be honest. We're ninth. We need to go and win. But Leicester away is not an easy game. So we've got to go there and put a performance. And
none of us backed Saka against Leicester. It's a shame. Maybe one of us should have done.
Oh,
He's got to score. He's got to score.
Yes.
Eventually.
I think what's bright as well is I definitely think there's a ton more to come back in from Saka as well. And if we're still being effective, without him playing, perfectly. And
if we can win that Leicester game and then absolutely pump Watford going into that Liverpool match, I'll be well happy. I'll be chuffed. I will be well chuffed with that. Well chuffed.
Yeah.
Liverpool's away, right?
Yeah. So
yeah, that's after the national break. We don't have to worry about that for a few weeks.
No, but I'm like, I'll be ecstatic if we can get a result against Leicester.
We can be praying for a lot of their players to be stuck in quarantine or something. Going, no, playing in South America, are you? Oh no, well, we have to miss the next game then. Sorry about that, Firmino and Alice. You have a good time.
The cases are too high. You know, I know. Apparently, Liverpool in its own right, they're trying to. I mean, I wanted to quarantine Liverpool years ago, but that's
exactly.
Sorry if we have any Scouser listeners that are Arsenal fans. I'm sorry.
It's a fair point, to be honest.
All the Beatles are from there. Don't care. Sorry, I don't like you. I'm sorry. I just don't like you.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully they fly Emirates and we'll just keep flying around during the game. But that's what we want. But I don't want to look ahead to that one. But the Leicester one, Leeds. I think I completely forgot. League Cup was midweek on Tuesday, isn't it? I think.
Yeah.
So that's it's quite important. League Cup's more important than it has been in a long time for us, I think. So we've got to win that one.
If you win it, you guarantee a form of European football by, I think it's even January now, not February. Normally the final's in Feb.
Arteta's licking his lips at that.
It's the conference one, you know.
Yeah, I bet he'd love winning that and going, let's experiment in the league with seven at the back.
Think of all the Toblerones you can buy from Macedonia and everywhere else. Yeah.
Exactly. So, we didn't do too much Arteta talk, and that is the way I want it. I think it's, early days, and it's been up and down, but we've certainly shown improvement with this. We're unbeaten in 6, I think, now, since the transfer window closed, and obviously the new boys have come in. So they've made a good impact, but there's definitely bigger tests to come, and we need to see more performances closer to that. That will incentivize and make me believe that we can do something this season as we improve, I think. But we've got to see more important performances like that, and less like we saw in the middle part of the Crystal Palace game, basically. So, but yeah, very, very impressive. I probably agree with you. Smith-Rowe probably edged it for me, though. I thought everyone was terrific. Tavares, Ramsdale, White, I thought was terrific. Partey as well, to name a few, and Lacazette. But boys, very, very enjoyable podcast. We'll be back maybe on
Thanks a lot.
Boys after. Yeah, thank you, boys. Thank you everyone listening at Purely Arsenal FP, and thank you for Anthony and Michael who aren't here, but Anthony's going to upload the podcast maybe a little bit sometime on Saturday. Give us a few days before the Leeds game. Thank you, James. Thank you, Neil. We're back in business. 4 points in a week.
6 games undefeated. 6 games.